Welcome to Finding Alignment, where we will be having conversations on business, wellness, and relationships for living a more aligned life. I'm your host, Megan Romine, real estate professional, lifelong learner, and speaker. Each time I'm in the studio, I sit down with entrepreneurs, best-selling authors, and everyday high achievers to unpack the habits, boundaries, and mindset shifts that fuel sustainable success. Whether you're growing a business, nurturing relationships, or simply protecting your peace, this show is here to help you take one aligned step forward. Let's dive in. Okay, today, very excited to have Juan Carlos, founder of Goldbar Staffing. Juan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Megan, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to get on here and have some awesome conversation.
Yeah, so I'm just going to dive right in. So could you tell us a little bit about your background? Because you started as a real estate agent. Can you tell us pre-real estate agent, and the natural progression of where you're at now?
So let's start pre-real estate agent. I was in college. I was studying to be a doctor, and I was pre-med. And my junior year in college, I decided, you know what? I don't really know if I'm going to be happy long term actually going down this entire route. So I picked up a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. It completely changed the trajectory of my life. And then from there, instead of graduating college and going to med school, I graduated and got my license at Keller Williams. So it was a complete 180 in terms of what I was planning on doing. From there, I graduated in 2015. I got licensed in 2016. I did real estate as an individual agent for about 2 years. And what I realized was I was kind of doing everything myself. I struggled a lot with working 80-hour weeks. I was really burnt out every single day. I felt like my phone was like never ringing off the hook, like nonstop. So I went out there, I hired a coach who was actually the president of Keller Williams International Coaching. And he started training me on the entire process of hiring an assistant, building out a team, everything from there. And then from 2018 to 2023, I basically built out the entire team to $100 million a year in sales. But the way I sold that real estate was without me being there. So I realized I was kind of like the biggest bottleneck or the constraint in my business. And the second I removed myself and hired really good quality people, coached them and held them accountable, my business blew up. And then in 2023, after I had my big year, I realized my real passion is in coaching and in helping others. So I started my coaching and staffing company, and that kind of led me to where I'm at now, where I own a staffing company. We have over 60 clients of some of the top agents in the country. And then they come to me whenever they need help in scaling their business and getting their staffing needs met.
Amazing. Such a great progression. And like, at what point? So I feel like I know, because as a high producing real estate agent, I kind of understand at what point are you like, okay, maybe I'm going to make a shift. When you decided that you were going to make a shift, was that something that was a little maybe scary, or what did that look like for you?
It was terrifying because, like most agents, I was a control freak. I wanted to do everything myself, and I felt that I was a perfectionist and no one could do things the way I did. But a good mentor of mine told me, Juan, it's not about them doing it to 100% of your capacity. It's about them just doing it at 80%. And as long as you're doing something that's completely delegated, I mean, if you outsource something to someone and they're doing it just as 80% as good as you do, that's enough than you doing it 100% yourself. So I think that moment for me was right around like $5 million a year in production. I was doing around like 100K in GCI. And once you start hitting 80, 100, 120K GCI a year, the paperwork starts stacking up, the emails never end, the calls don't stop. And that's a really good time to start looking into an assistant.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you decided, when you're selling over 100 million a year, and you're like, I'm going to create this business model that helps agents with something that maybe I had personally struggled with. What was that shift like? Was that a terrifying shift, moving from that?
It absolutely was, because when you do over $3 million a year in GCI, and that's your primary source of income for the last 5 years of your life, it's a terrifying thing to go ahead and say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead from doing this to go ahead and doing something completely different and building it from scratch. But for me, I understood that my asset in my business, it wasn't really a matter of like the day to day. It wasn't me going out there and like running the team. It was more so the actual book of clients. So what I started doing was I went to all my team members and I said, guys, I love you, but my next passion in life is doing something completely different than running a day-to-day team. If I were still to refer you business, would you guys give me a good referral fee? And at the time, any single time I sent the deals to my team members, they would give me 50%. And they were like, yeah, sure, we'll continue paying you 50% for life. I was like, really? Awesome. So that's literally what I do to this day. I have 8 of my team members that are both in Florida and New York, where I ran my team. I still get tons of referrals. This week alone, I got 3 referrals just from past clients reaching out to me and everything on that end. And then what I do is I take this referral, they go ahead and give me a 50% referral fee. But here's the best part. I don't have a transaction coordinator. I don't have anyone that's running my day-to-day. I don't have to worry about photos. I don't have to worry about inspections, appraisals. And then the best part is I don't even pay for marketing. So for me, I still make 50% of gross revenue of all my book of business. And then that's what allowed me to start building this company on the side.
Amazing. That's so smart. I mean, I think for me as an agent, that's where moving into like being a team leader and having people that can convert the leads. And it just allows you to, also move into different areas, right? And then also too, I feel like you're helping other people, like not only the clients, because first and foremost, you're not just going to hand off, pass someone off to someone that you don't respect and know that can get the job done. But then also too, you're helping that agent by building their business as well. And I mean, in my case, it would be, like mentoring and things of that nature. So I think all around full circle, because that's how I got started too, right? Like from my mentor and from his book of business and like working with some of his contacts. So it's just a continuous flow.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people fail to realize is building, starting, managing a team is expensive. Like if we go out of our way to give away 50% of our revenue just to the buyer and the listing agents, and then we're left with 50%, well, we still have to pay for overhead. We have to pay for staff. We have to pay for designs and marketing and ads and signage and flyers. And before you know it, that 50% of gross revenue comes down to like 20 or even 15. Mm-hmm. So I kind of understood that. And I said to myself, if I could go out of my way to continue referring the majority of my clients to these incredible team members, which I like and trust because I kind of built them up and trained them over the course of the couple of years, then I could go out of my way to not just make the same amount of money I was making before, but I have none of the stress, none of the headaches, and none of the expenses.
And then did any of your clients, was it ever a hard transition letting your clients know like, hey, I'm going to be referring you to one of my team members or...
Really good question. So even in 2023, when I was completely hands off, I would always refer to my team members as my partners. And I had one partner for every individual market that I was kind of growing into. So at that moment, it was kind of like, hey, I may go out of my way to have that intro conversation with the client, and they may want to meet with me and everything on that side. But I told them, listen, I'm still involved in the back end. I'm the one that's going to go ahead and organize everything together. But there's a reason I've been training my partner over the last 4 years on everything that I've known so that they could be assigned strictly for you. Whereas on my end, I'm dealing with a lot of people. They're going to provide you with better service. They're going to be just as good as me. And then on the back end, if you ever need me, you could call me. But the reality was my partners were so good, I would never hear from the client again up until the closing. So for me, it was about having really good systems in place to train those team members so they could be completely hands off and really just removing from the operation. And it was about making them not just as good as me, but better. And a lot of them to this day, I really do think they are better agents than I was just because of what I taught them, because of how much I reemphasized certain like accountability metrics. I really went out of my way, not just to make them as good as me, but make them even better than whatever I was.
That is so true. And I've seen it with like larger teams too, and where some people will be like, listen, this agent's actually going to be a better fit for you to work at based on like wherever they're at like in their career. So it's really that. And you had mentioned like, being a control freak or perfectionism. Like I think that people also need to remember with someone that's a perfectionist, like they're not going to just allow some random agent to take care of you because your name is still behind that in your brand. So I think that's like important to note. And then also, so like with the staffing, I utilize Goldbar Staffing, and it's so true that, my business changed whenever I was able to let go of that control a little bit, right? Because I wanted to do everything and I felt like I was the one that needed to do it. But you can only grow to a certain level until you get very, very good at delegating.
Yeah, I think what's hard for a lot of agents is them just kind of like going from like that, we'll call it that entrepreneur that's a solopreneur, right? That'd be a good word for it. But it's a solopreneur that's doing everything themselves to them going to being the entrepreneur where they're actually hiring, managing, training other people. And like I said, for us to go out of our way to be the best at what we do, it's not that it's easy, but it's pretty simple. We just have to show up on time. We have to pick up our phone. We have to be professional. We have to obviously be experts at what we do, but we just have to provide like really good quality service. When it comes to actually running a business, there's so many more moving pieces. we now have to control like the systems delivery. Like, how do we actually document a process and make sure that our team members can replicate the same exact thing? We have to include the hiring now. We have to go out there and hire and train really good quality people. And then once we start training staff, we have to manage them. And I think for a lot of agents, that's really scary. But the reality is all the top producers have a really good team and a really good back-end staff that runs their day-to-day.
Absolutely. And then whenever you were deciding to make this shift, do you feel like you had just maybe lost a little bit of the passion for selling real estate specifically? Or it might be a combination of the two. Or was it you just had another passion in general? And what was your purpose and passion, driven behind creating this business?
I never lost my passion for selling. I just kind of saw it as something that was it was kind of something that I mastered and I conquered. And I think my path from there was I could start selling higher price properties. I could probably get into commercial. But really my joy and my passion just was really fueled by helping other agents develop and grow. So in the time from 2018 to 2023, I probably, trained and developed a good 15 to 20 agents. I took them all from zero. I'm talking point blank, just got their license to six figures and even multiple six figures each. And that process of watching their transformation, not just in their business, but in their personal life as well, that to me brought me so much fulfillment. So for me, it was a matter of listen, I love this part. I want to do this more. How can I do this at scale? And I realized the only way to do that was to get more into the coaching and the staffing role.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. And I think too, that's why if I go on a stage, it's I want to do this to help other people. How can I utilize my strengths and what I've been through? Because it is not easy. It is anything but easy. And it's probably going to be one of the hardest things you're ever going to do. I mean, let's just be real. And I think a lot of real estate agents, they don't realize that. They're oh, I'm going to show beautiful houses and I'm going to make, six-figure commissions and it's going to be so much fun. And it's so far from that. And yes, it can happen with enough determination, but it's not necessarily the reality and the amount of sacrifices that you're going to have to make to be able to do that. But if you can make just a change, for me anyways, it's if I can make a change in just, one person's life, by mentoring and helping, because you've been in the thick of it, and you want to help other people.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of agents, it's understanding that we're so terrified to train other people and kind of give away our intellectual property and our wisdom on how we became successful. Because at the end of the day, we could be training our competition. But the way I see it is what's the worst case scenario if we don't train them and they stay? So everyone's just what if you train them and they leave? Well, what if you don't train them and they actually stay? And now these are the people that are the extension of your brand. So worst case scenario, if they go out of their way to leave you one day, then you kind of realize two things. Number one, you're a really good trainer and coach. And that's not something that's easy to do. A lot of people are terrible trainers and coaches, and they just can't pass on all of that knowledge to another person, But the second thing is you probably didn't have the right compensation plan in place, or your culture wasn't a good fit for them. So I think that's where we kind of have to evolve as entrepreneurs and realize, if everyone were to go ahead and leave as soon as they got all their wisdom and training at a company, then no companies would be established enough to continue to scale. But the reason that people stay at companies for a long period of time is, number one, their comp structure is incentivized for them long term. So they're not just going to go ahead and get a small little increase. They're incentivized to go ahead and stay with you for a long period of time. And number two, the company culture is so strong and it's so good for them that they rather stay working with you at your company than going out there and starting their own thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just a win-win. And at the end of the day, people evolve and move on and things happen. And I think this too. I've been running teams since, 2017. And sometimes things can really not go so well, right? But you learn so much about yourself. You learn a lot about other people. And I think overall, it just continues to make you a better leader over and over and over again.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And then what is your next vision with Goldbar? What's your next steps? What does that look like?
So I think our next vision for Goldbar is we started the coaching right around 2023, and we were able to grow our platform to 15,000 agents. However, the 15,000 agents were from all walks of life. And I realized for a lot of the new agents, no matter what we do, it doesn't matter if we hold their hand, if we coach them, if we provide them with education, courses, wisdom, boot camps, you name it, I've tried it. A lot of people just aren't cut out for real estate because they're trying to be entrepreneurs when they're not. They're more day-to-day technicians. They want to go out there and collect the paycheck, and that's okay. The entire world isn't destined to be an entrepreneur because being an entrepreneur, as you know, it requires a lot of patience, sacrifice, work, and it takes a lot of time to grow. So for me, I realized, okay, well, out of these 15,000 agents, who are the ones that are experiencing a serious problem that I could solve, but are already successful? And that's when I started identifying people that are kind of the solopreneurs that want to start teams, team leaders that are kind of like struggling with building out their entire thing. Their number one problem was hiring, training, and managing really good talent. So I kind of went all in on the staffing. We started in 2024. We've grown it to 60 plus clients. I think we're going to end off the year with about 100. But the average agent we work with is making between $250,000 a year in GCI on the low end to our top client is doing $4 or $5 million a year in GCI yearly. So for me at this point, it's a matter of I want to continue doubling down on working with the top 1%. Not because I'm not opposed to helping the 99%. It's why we have the community and we have a lot of free resources and training and stuff like that. But because I see the top 1% becoming the future of our entire industry. And with all these older agents that have been doing this for 30, 40, 50 years, retiring over the next couple of years, I really do think the next top 1% of our generation is going to be the generation that takes advantage of building systems, hiring staff, and really doubling down on their brand.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And also, too, do you think that there's any specific mindset shift that you would like to share for someone, whether they're a real estate agent or maybe they're looking to make some kind of change in their business? What would be some words of encouragement and also mindset shifts that you would recommend?
I would say the mindset shift to have, or maybe even words of encouragement, would be know your hourly rate. Which is not going to be conventional wisdom you hear, but a lot of the top consultants that I find that are mentoring founders, entrepreneurs, and even CEOs are kind of reminding people that like they're still doing way too much that is not the best use of their time. So if you find any high-powered CEO that's getting paid $1,500 or even $2,000 an hour, I could promise you the last thing they're doing is checking their emails or going on little tiny tasks and errands. They probably have an executive assistant for that. So I think the faster we can learn to identify what our hourly rate is, and then once we know what the hourly rate is, we just completely protect that like it's our only job, because time is our most valuable asset and that really is our main job, then we could start outsourcing and delegating everything else. And business really is that simple. There are three things that make us money in real estate. It's generating leads, it's nurturing those leads, and converting those leads into clients. And if we could outsource everything else, then we could spend all day long on just those activities, and then your business just skyrockets like this.
Amazing. And also, too, then it gives us the ability to like focus on our strengths, right? Because not every agent has the same strengths. So if you know what your strengths are, you can double down on your strengths and then you can outsource the other items. I think it's great. And like you guys have helped us with creating like our SOPs, like our, operating systems. And it's just been such a great help for us. So thank you for having the purpose and passion to be able to help not just like real estate agents, but like team leaders and business owners. And you're making a difference. And, I think it's amazing what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I appreciate you being a client and like being with us from the very beginning, because to be completely honest, like building systems for your business is one thing, but building it for someone else that has a different personality type or different preferences when it comes to hiring people, it is a learning process for us. But the one thing that I did notice is when you could find someone the right fit, or you could find them with the right human being that could go out there and support them and help them in their business, it's almost like a match made in heaven, where like they're just like, wow, I can't believe I can't even remember my life before this person. So we're constantly on a journey and on a path to helping people find their right fit when it comes to their EA. And we've just done such a great job at just improving the process, building better systems, all of that stuff. But I have nothing else to say other than like, I just love helping entrepreneurs kind of scale to that next level.
Yeah. And I feel like that's where you really find success in life, is whenever you're helping other people. And, I think another thing, I've said this before on a different episode that came from, someone else. It wasn't from me, but be generous when you feel like not being generous, right? And just keep going. And the more that you can help other people, I just think the more enrichment that you're going to find and the more satisfaction in life. Because the transparently, at the end of the day, I deal with a lot of wealthy people, and money isn't everything. Money is not going to solve your problem of how you feel or your purpose in life. So I think really doubling down on what's your purpose, what's your passion, and how can I utilize my strengths to make the world a better place. So thank you so much for doing everything that you do. It's exciting.
Thank you. And like I said, I think you hit it on the money in the sense that a lot of people like enjoy what they do as being an agent. Like they enjoy building relationships and networking and like I said, going out there and serving them. But there's probably a list of things that they don't enjoy doing. And it's as simple as just putting them into a little paper called an SOP, a standard operating procedure, recording a video on how to do those things, and then handing it off to someone else. And then when you can really just focus on what you love doing, it's almost like that fire or that spark in the business just kind of comes back to life.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And then Juan, where can people find you? Can you share your social media, or if they're interested in hiring Goldbar Staffing, where do they go?
Yeah, absolutely. So my Instagram is Juan Goldbar, Juan Goldbar. You can message me. I do have someone managing my Instagram day to day, but I actually do still read my own messages. So you can just reach out to me there. And then the second way to get in contact with us, if you're interested in hiring a virtual assistant or just allowing us to help you build out your systems in your business, specifically in real estate, goldbarstaffing.com. Like I said, we're currently accepting new clients. We're looking for people that are doing really successful business on their own, but kind of want to start building out a team and get into that next level. And that's kind of what we do best. So feel free to reach out to us on there.
Amazing. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Megan. Super excited to continue working with you, and we'll see where life goes.
Yeah, see you soon. Thanks for tuning in to Finding Alignment. If you found this episode helpful, please like and subscribe. I would love if you could leave me a review. And if there's anyone that you would like to hear from on the show, please let us know. Thanks for tuning in.